90% of coaches are failing because they're investing 90% of their time, energy, and money into the 90% of stuff that doesn't matter. At least not until you have these two critical components aligned and locked in. And they both have to do with you. So don't continue to fall for the traps that you need better sales funnels, or you need a better marketing plan, or you need a better website, or you need better content, or you need a better blog, or you need to do social media marketing. All of the things that so many people are investing their time and energy and money into are actually making it harder to succeed. So if you want a business that's built to last, that has the foundation so that you can scale and make whatever kind of impact and revenue that you want in the world, you must have these two pieces locked in, which means this is where you should be putting your time, energy, and money. Let me break it down for you. So welcome to this edition of the Truth About Coaching show. In this show, I'm going to break down what you should be investing your money in and how that's going to give you a much better return. Because when it comes to investing, and I said time, energy, money, those are the three things that we can invest. Money is the least important one, yet it's the one that most people spend the most energy focusing on. But it's the least important one. If you don't put your time and energy into something, it doesn't matter if you put your money into something. I mean, how many people have gym memberships, right? Getting $20, $30, $40 taken out of their account every month. But if you're not going to the gym and investing time and energy, then you're not going to get any results. So if we break down what creates a positive investment, you want returns, right? You want results that are going to come back to you after you invest your time, energy, and money. And the only way to get results is to implement, especially in something like coaching, really anything in personal development, anything that requires growth, requires implementation in order to get any sort of results. If you don't implement, it's impossible to get any of the results. And what people are doing is they're just collecting all this how-to, or they're following scripts and templates and all this stuff, but they're not actually putting it in motion. And this is not about learning how to succeed. This is about earning your success. And there's a huge distinction between those two things. Most people are trying to learn how to succeed. That's the reason that they're getting all this information, right? They're focusing on strategies, and they're focusing on funnels, and they're focusing on marketing plans and business models and all these things that are not really designed for them. And they think that because they have a how-to piece of the puzzle that they're going to succeed. But if you don't implement the how-to, then what's the point, right? Knowledge unimplemented is ignorance. In fact, when you accumulate more knowledge, it's actually worse if you don't implement it, because it creates a lot more pressure. It creates a lot more tension. It creates more anxiety if we collect more and more information and we're not implementing it. So in any area where growth is required, you have to earn your success. You have to earn your success through implementation. I'm not talking about like a values judgment, right? Whether you're good enough or not good enough in some judgmental, like external approval kind of way. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, have you learned the lessons in your body through motion, through implementation, through action, that will give you the lessons to stay where you want to go? That's the biggest thing, right? I love the analogy about climbing Mount Everest. What most people are wanting to do is get to the top of Everest. But the mind wants to get there as fast as possible with the least amount of effort and the least amount of time and the least amount of investment. So the mind would love to just be dropped off at the top, right? Like just be helicoptered to the top. And as soon as the helicopter dropped you off, if you did that, you would immediately die because your body hasn't acclimated on the way up. That's earning your success. If you haven't learned the lessons in the ascent toward your goals, then even if you get the goals, you haven't earned the success. And I'm saying that out of protection, because if you haven't earned your way there through implementation, You can't stay there. It's just impossible. And what a lot of people are doing is just trying to get to their goals. They're trying to make money in the coaching world. They're trying to make money. They're trying to get clients. They're trying to do all these things as quickly as they possibly can, but they don't have the foundation yet. And if you have a poor foundation, the worst thing you can do is build on top of it. That's the least intelligent thing you can do with a poor foundation, is to build on top of that. And yet that's what a lot of people are doing in the coaching world, because their intellect is just chasing the things that they want. So I'm not going to give you what your intellect wants. I'll tell you that now. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you what I've learned in over 15 years in this industry, coaching coaches, obviously being a coach for all this time, going through the huge ups and the huge downs. We made $300,000 plus in our first 18 months, lost a ton of money in our next 18 months, ended up filing bankruptcy, was able to rewrite the ship, been multiple six figures every year since. I've been going up and down, like riding these waves of technology and social media and the internet and all the things that the coaching industry has in terms of like changes and evolutions and all those things. I've seen all of that over the last 15 years. So I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, but probably not what your intellect wants to hear. Your intellect wants just a how-to, and I'm not saying anything bad about you specifically. This is the way our intellect works. The intellect wants the how-to information so that it can save the time. So the intellect thinks when we fail, the problem is an information deficit. That's what the intellect thinks. So in order to succeed, we need more information. We need better information. So we're constantly on this information search, but the problem is we're generally not implementing the information that we do have. And the reason is because we don't have individualized information. We have generalized information. Now that's what the intellect is searching for, right? Because the intellect wants the turnkey, the guarantees. The intellect wants to make sure that we're not going to risk failure. This is so critical to understand. The intellect does not want to risk failure. That's why it's so drawn to the shortcut. That's why it's so drawn to the guarantees. Because it doesn't want to risk failure. Failure is like the worst thing possible to the intellect. So in its search for the guaranteed thing that will remove the risk of failure, you're pulling you out of the process. And I'm going to dive into that a lot more. But back to this idea of implementation. If you're not implementing, then you're not learning. And if you're not learning, then you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying. So in this world of coaching, it's an individual journey anyway. We are individuals and we're serving individuals. So we have to focus on individualized information that we can implement. Not this generalized shortcut information that our intellect is constantly searching for. Now, why is it so critical for us to have individualized information in the coaching industry? Here's why. You're running a business, right? You want to run a business. If you want to make money, then you've got to create a business. What is the most important element of a business? What's the most important ingredient? I would say the most important ingredient of a business is the product. Without a product, there is no business. Now, sure, there are all kinds of other things that are important. Without the product, there is no business. So that's the most critical, essential element of the business. And then I would say the most critical element of the operation of the business is what I'll call the production team. So you got the product and you got the production team. The production team is the team that's in charge of making all the decisions and executing the plans and coming up with the strategies and all of that stuff, right? In a big business, we would call it like the executive board, the CEO, the CFO, the COO, all those things. So you've got the production team that's in charge of operating the business, and you've got the product. In the coaching world, you are both of those things. You are the product, and you are the one making all the decisions, especially when you're brand new or you're just at stage one of trying to build your business. Doesn't matter if you just started, you've been in the game for 5 years or 10 years. If your business is still at stage one, or if you're a solopreneur, you have a tiny team, then you are the whole production team. So if you are the two most important pieces, then anything that removes you from the process is a huge mistake. Because what's going to cause your business to succeed is improving the two most important elements, which are you. But when we take a look at most of the information that's being sold out there, most of the information that's being sought out there, because there's no blame that I'm putting on either side of the fence here, but we seek certain things, and that's why they're being taught. So what the information, or the kind of information that most people are seeking, is generalized information. And so most of the game plans out there are essentially, how do we make up for you, right? Like that's kind of the message that we get. How do we overcome all of this? How do we overcome the fact that you're not good enough? How do we overcome the fact that you don't know how to sell? How do we overcome the fact that you don't know how to market? How do we overcome the fact that your deficiencies are why you suck in business? So if you buy this thing and become more like me or more like them or more like somebody else other than you, then you might be able to succeed. So think about this for a second. What so many of us are doing is we're investing in things that are based on our deficiencies, which perpetuates the stories that most of us have that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not ready, it's not perfect yet. And anything that is based on our deficiencies is disempowering. So if you're trying to build a business that starts with fixing you, and I'm talking about fixing, not healing you, that's great, but I'm talking about the deficiency-driven desperation that I gotta be fixed. So anything that is based on fixing you as the problem or avoiding your deficiencies is doomed. It's doomed from the start, because at some point you're gonna confront yourself. At some point you're going to need to step up if you're going to build this business. So the foundation is you. That's the thing. The foundation is you. And especially in this coaching market, we need to embrace who you are. We don't need to hide who you are. We don't need to fix who you are, because all of the value that you have as a coach is because of who you are. It's because of what you've been through. It's not in your fixing of the deficiencies that you're going to find your value. It's in your very imperfections as a human that you're going to find your value. And when we find the value in the product, which is you, then we can create a business plan and a business model and strategies that are based on the product, that are based on, this is the key, that are based on the product being valuable, not based on the product not being valuable. When this landed for me, I would say 9 months ago, it was such a gigantic shift that most people, especially in this industry, so many people in this industry are buying based on their deficiencies. And when we focus on our deficiencies, it creates desperation. And when we're in a place of desperation, we lose the ability to discern. Desperation destroys discernment. So when we're in a place of desperation, or the marketing or the sales is lighting up our desperation, then we're not going to make good choices. Desperation does not make good choices. And then we keep chasing all these things because we don't really know what we want. I mean, if you don't know the puzzle that you're trying to create, how will you know what piece fits? And what most people are not doing is identifying the puzzle that they're trying to create based on their value as a human, not their abilities as a robot, right? So much of marketing and sales and all these funnels are based on automation. And I get it. The mind wants to do things more efficiently. Technology is supposed to make our life better by doing things faster and doing things easier. I get it. We have that drive. But technology can't fix bad foundation. Technology can't solve problems. Technology can't scale a business that's not successful at a foundational level. Technology cannot increase something that isn't already a positive. Technology is just going to amplify whatever's there. Either it's positive or negative. Technology is going to amplify all of it. But so many people think that technology is the answer. People think that social media or all the automated systems and the funnels and all that stuff, they think that's the answer. It's not the answer at all. We need to find something that's valuable starting with you. So one of the things that where I learned this, and it fascinated me when I first saw this. In my early days, I was primarily coaching in the direct sales world. And the direct sales world is similar to coaching in many ways. We've got a lot of people that want to build a business on the side of whatever they're doing. They're not coming out of business school and deciding to create a product based on all their business acumen or anything like that. They just want a better life for themselves, and they have the ambition to go for it. So in the direct sales world, what happens a lot is people are basically given a game plan that says, this is what you do to succeed. And it could be X number of phone calls a day or a week or a month, or it could be X number of reach outs, or it could be put these posts on social media, whatever it is. But it's basically a Xeroxed copy of what success looks like. And this is how they succeeded, this is how they succeeded, this is how he succeeded. They all got to the top of the company, they all succeeded. So you should just follow this recipe that's a copy of 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 a copy. I mean, have you ever seen actual copies that have gone through like a Xerox machine over and over and over again? And by the time it hits you, it's all like turned, 18 degrees, and it's got a line down one of the sides, and it looks like it's crumpled up, and it's not even, the print isn't black anymore, right? It looks all crackly. How beautiful does that look? How valuable does that look when it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy? This is what's happening in success in general, and definitely in the coaching market. My name is not on those copies. It was just given to me by somebody else who it may or may not have worked for. So when I started looking at this issue in my early coaching days, what I started to do is saying, listen, what do you want? Why did you say yes to this business? And they would tell me they want to retire their husband or their wife, or they want to put their kids through college, they want whatever it is that they want. And I said, okay, that's the goal. Let's create a game plan that will get you toward that goal. In other words, this game plan had their name on top. So here's the crazy thing. The same Xerox copy of success that they were not following, almost all the time that we started with their goals and said, if this is what you want to create, what game plan do we need to put in place in order for you to get your goals? Almost all the time we arrived at the same basic plan. But what blew me away is they started following the plan. Even though the information was essentially the same, the Xeroxed copy times 100 information didn't start with them. But this one started with them. That's why the information doesn't really matter. What matters is that it comes from this place of you. I was leading a group one time, and I'm going to borrow this term from my friend and colleague Phoebe Morochek. She said, it's not about building a blueprint, it's about building a you-print. And that's exactly what this is about. It's about starting with you and then figuring out what's the foundation, what's the product, what is it that you're passionate about, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. And I will never tell anybody to just jump out into social media if that's not what they like, if they're not passionate about it. One of the worst things you can do is just throw them out into the Shark Tank where everybody else is marketing like crazy in social media. That's not starting with who they are. It's not embracing and building upon their unique, not benefits, but their unique value as a person. And it's also not taking into account who it is that they're trying to serve, right? You're an individual serving individuals. So if we're not playing the individual game, we're screwed. And that's what almost everybody is doing in this industry, and that's why they're struggling so much. So what almost everybody is focusing on is sales and marketing and funnels and all those things. And those are not unimportant. But they're just not the foundation. We need to know what we need the product to be viable. We need the product to be valuable. We need the product, you, us, me, we need the product to be certain. Because if you don't have a confident, certain product, you're not going to overcome that with better marketing. You can't outmarket a bad product. Sooner or later, the poor quality of the product in normal business sense is going to make itself known and people are going to stop buying. In coaching, we are the product. So we have to invest in whatever we need individually. Because listen, there are people joining the coaching industry in droves. If I had to guess, I would guess at least 100,000 people every single year, and I'm being very conservative, are wanting to become coaches. Probably at least 50, 75,000 of them are getting their certification through any number of sources. We cannot commoditize this thing called coaching. The worst thing you can do is try to fit into this wave of copies. So you've got to build around your uniqueness, but you have to know you first. And I'll be honest, a lot of coaches don't want to do that. They don't want to know themselves. But if you're not willing to know yourself, how are you going to invite somebody else into your coaching where you're going to help them with themselves, with their life? If you're not willing to confront whatever needs to be confronted, embrace whatever needs to be embraced, heal whatever needs to be healed, then you're not a product of the product. And if you're not a product of the product, how appealing is the product going to be? So this is really about identifying why most people are struggling. This isn't me just philosophizing, with my own morals or my own ethics or my own beliefs. This is identifying, here's why most people struggle. It's because they haven't done this work. And if you don't know yourself and you don't know the product, then you can't know what that product needs. You can't know what the product needs. You can't know how the product needs to be marketed. You can't know how the product needs to be sold. You can't know how the product will need to be priced. You can't know where to sell your product. You can't know any of that if you don't know the product. So we've got to understand the essence of our business before we can then go outward. Because if we don't, then we're just going to keep being fooled. We're just going to keep being taken advantage of. And I want to explain to you why this happens. This was such a big, eye-opening realization the other day. If you don't really know what you need, then everything sounds amazing. Everything. And what's happening is there are buying triggers that we all have in our brain. We like scarcity. And when I say these are the things that make us jump. These are the things that are influential to us as humans. Scarcity, urgency, discounts, deals, bonuses, price comparisons, belonging, not wanting to be left out. Obviously not wanting our life to turn out bad and to be alone and depressed. We have a bunch of human buying triggers, let's call them. And if you don't know what you want in terms of the puzzle piece, then you will fall prey to the buying triggers. You will just fall prey to the sales tactics because you don't know what the substance is. underneath it. That's why, my estimation, 80 to 90% of the money being invested in the coaching industry is going in the wrong place. They're buying the sales tactics. They're not buying the substance because they don't know what the product needs. And when perpetuated, that creates a pattern of desperate purchases and disappointment. Desperation and disappointment has never been a good combination to my knowledge, in my experience on this planet and talking to people on this planet. Desperation and disappointment is not a good combination. It's not a good strategy to purchase. Certainly not a good strategy to sell from. Because when people buy desperately, a lot of times so now I'm flipping this. So as a business owner, as the person offering your products and services and coaching programs, you don't want to induce desperation in people and then have them try to buy your thing out of this like when they're bleeding, right? You don't want them to be bleeding and then choose your thing out of desperation. Because a lot of times they will make the wrong choice. They will end up asking for refunds or not implementing your programs. And if they don't implement, then they don't make any changes, right? So my advice as a salesperson is never follow the desperation tactics. Don't try to use all those buying triggers just for the sake of getting money out of people's wallets. In the long run, that's not going to work. And if we know what is not going to work in the long run, then my advice is don't spend any time on that one. If we know that this road right here is about to end, at some point in time it's inevitable, this road will end, my advice is don't spend any time trying to learn how to navigate that road because it's going to end anyway. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of people in the coaching market specifically who have built successful businesses from a tangible standpoint and are miserable because they are not in their business. And if you are not at the core of your business, you can't be passionate. How can you be passionate about a business that you're not in? People that join the coaching industry generally don't join because they've always wanted to own a business. They join because they want to make a difference. They join because they had some kind of transformational experience and they want to give that to other people. So building a business is a secondary thought. The only way you can enjoy building a business from a place of service is to be in the business. Your passion needs to be in there. You need to be talking about things that you want to be talking about. You cannot resent your business and be happy. But if you build something without you inside of it, the chances of you resenting it are only roughly about 100%. That's it. And I'm rounding down to 100%. You got to enjoy this thing. If you've joined this coaching market for the same reason that I joined this coaching market, the same reason almost everybody joined this coaching market, to have fun, make a difference, leave your footprint, help people along the way. You do that by serving with your value, not by following all these templates and these guaranteed success. If you hear anything that sounds like a guarantee, turnkey, easy to do, step by step, anybody can do this, it's bull. You're going to tell me that in a business with an individual who has an entire lifetime of unique circumstances, I have a combination that has never been seen before. You have a combination that has never been seen before. I'm serving people with combinations that have never been seen before. And you're going to tell me there's a one-size-fits-all approach to make all of us succeed? But the brain loves that. That's why we keep cutting those checks. Because the brain loves the fact that it's guaranteed. I don't have to risk failure. I don't have to risk losing. So listen, anything that sounds, you hear this all the time, too good to be true is probably too good to be true. Anything that sounds like a guarantee, it's crap. I've never seen it work, ever, but people keep buying it and buying it and buying it. The truth is that we need to dive in and build roots according to who we are. We need to dive into our roots and strengthen our roots as individual humans. Here's my message for you. You have value in your individual journey that you've followed on this planet. And there are plenty of people out there that are dying to find out what you've learned. And if you can start from there, you know who you are, you know what your value is, and you know who you're here to serve, then you build a bridge between the individual and the individual. Now you can make an impact that your intellect probably can't even comprehend. So if the intellect is primarily the problem in this scenario, my advice to you is don't ask it for the solution. The solution is your individual humanity, and let's build a business all around that. It's one of the things that we do as a company. We offer free consultations to anybody that wants to build a business. We'll get on the phone with you. We'll ask you a bunch of these individual questions. Who are you? What is it that you want to do? What are you passionate about? What's the value that you've picked up along the way? And I'll tell you that most of the time, what people think their value is, or they think what they're most passionate about, they're actually wrong. They're actually wrong. And we need that external perspective to say, listen, this is incredibly valuable. Now, we would never steer somebody in a direction that they don't want to go. But most of the time, we can listen to what people are saying, how they're saying the things that they're saying, and help them identify what that unique product and value is that's going to ignite a passion inside of them so strong that they can't not do this work. From that place, we can talk about funnels, we can talk about sales, we can talk about websites, we can talk about marketing plans. But if we haven't ignited you first, all of that other stuff is not only irrelevant, but it's dangerous. Because at some point in time, you're going to have to come back here anyway. I suggest you start there. So if you're interested in one of those free consultations, no obligation, no high pressure, anything, then click the link. We'll put a link in the description so that you can start with you and simply help more people. So what do you invest in? You invest in anything that can build your resolve, that can build your ability to think, not your ability to follow the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy. Your ability to think, to build your internal mental resolve, to heal whatever needs to be healed, to decrease whatever fears are standing in the way. And here's what I'll tell you. If you have a game plan that you believe will work and you're not following the plan, then everything I've been talking about is the problem. But when you get lit up, when we can help ignite that passion from inside of you, the energy that you will work with, the things that you will overcome, the stuff that will no longer distract you, will blow your mind. So if you're caught with the distractions, if you're caught with the fears, if you just have all this resistance and all this sabotage, what I'm telling you is you just haven't found the thing yet. You haven't found the thing that is uniquely yours, that you made a promise to yourself to share. At some point in time, you made a promise, either consciously or unconsciously, that says, I'm not complete here on this planet until I share this. That's what needs to be fueling your message in order for you to build the kind of business on top of all of that uniqueness that's going to be successful, that's going to create the kind of impact that you want, that's going to generate the revenue that you want, that will give you the freedom that you want. But all those things are byproducts of you finding that ignition piece, you finding that unique gold inside of you. All of your courage is in there. All of your drive is in there. All of the positive, powerful beliefs are in that moment. And most people are just dancing around it, chasing all of the turnkey systems that their intellect thinks they need. Invest in you, because you are the most important thing in your business. Now, if you like this video, you're going to love that one, because I came at this conversation from a different angle about what it actually means to succeed from the inside out.
The most important piece of a successful coaching business is being a good coach. My question is, have we actually lived a human experience if we don't ever touch our humanity?